Okay. And all right, how would you deal with uh, what's the term that they use where the kid can't actually comprehend what he reads? It's
Dyslexic?
yes.
Okay. A youngster who is, has dyslexia as a way of learning would be identified through what we call a child study team.
Okay.
They would be studied very closely. They would almost we would continue to develop an individual learning plan for that youngster. And there are dyslexics who are making millions of dollars, when a program is formed for them. So what we would do they would
Now, do
be
your
extreme.
school do the child study team or do
We
the
provide child study team services.
public schools?
No,
You do.
we're a public
Yeah,
school.
public school, but I mean, what I mean
Yeah,
is that
we have our own
you
child
have your own
study team.
child study
Yes.
team.
Right, that we have
Okay.
contracted. And along with the learning part, so I want to bring up two more very specific and very interesting parts. Number one, we expect to have every youngster to have access to computers every day in every classroom. Okay, we're going to reach the point where every youngster has his or her own computer in the classroom.
Wow.
Okay, because that's another way of tailoring lesson plans and tailoring learning for the individual student. There's just so many programs and so much information available now through the internet and through computers that we can individualize a program for every kid. And we're moving ahead with that. We are in the 21st century, right? And we have an advantage also because we have now an outstanding, and Ms. McNeil is one of them, an outstanding faculty.
Okay.
And the faculty that we are bringing in are all willing to integrate technology into their lesson plans. They're not afraid of it.
Sure.
They welcome it. Plus, they're mature people. They're able to deal with youngsters at the middle school level, which takes, middle school is a transitional area. That's
Very important.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we knew that when we designed this as a middle school. It's much easier to set up an elementary charter school. Much easier, because you take kids out of preschool and
Sure,
parents
sure.
are all that. When you get into middle school, it's a pivotal time in a youngster's life. It's between adult and childhood.
Sure.
And most parents will tell you this is where if a youngster goes astray, it's very often in middle school because there's so many personal challenges, social challenges, interpersonal challenges that learning sometimes takes a secondary role. So we're combining the growth of a youngster with the growth of education. And we know it's a challenge, we're ready for that challenge. Another thing that we're doing that I've never seen in any other school is we're integrating music into every part of the education. All of us here, you're a pastor, you're a reverend,
Sure.
you know that music is a big part of the church.
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay, and when it does, there's not a human emotion that doesn't have some association with music.
That's the truth.
And we go back to Plato, and we know that Plato recognized that music was integral
Yes.
into learning. So we're working with our faculty, we're providing special programs. All the faculty know that music is going to be an important part of it. So the youngsters, they don't have to be outstanding musicians, but they're going to learn how music relates to history, how it relates to English, how it relates to human growth.
Basically everything we do, because
Exactly.
when you listen to a commercial or a
Right.
movie, there's music
Yes.
Exactly.
in the
Always
movie.
music.
Yeah.
Right.
There's always music. That's the
And
truth.
youngsters all love music of
Sure,
some type.
sure,
So
sure.
we're taking that part of it and putting it into a positive influence in
Now,
their
so
lives.
all right. So that means that you guys gonna do like a music class.
We'll have that, but that's not the primary thing that we're talking about. As a matter of fact, we
Explain.
just accepted Donovan Sumas, who has the Heritage Gospel Group in Plainfield.
Okay,
He's
okay.
serving on our board of trustees. So what we want is to have youngsters have an ability to go as far as they want to in music, but you don't have to be an outstanding musician to understand the history of the Revolutionary War and the music and how
Sure.
they're tied in. The
Oh,
music
okay.
during World War I.
Right,
How did
yes.
it influence it? It's a different type of music. The music that during Vietnam,
Yes,
it's
yes.
a different part of it, and it reflects history at that
Yes,
time.
yes, it does, yes,
And so that's what we're talking about. That part of it carries into it. So every youngster is going to understand the involvement of music in our day-to-day lives.
Wow, that's gonna be something. Wow. Okay, now where you guys at in terms of registration? Do you have any room for anyone yet?
Yes. We still do have space.
Okay.
We do have, I would say most of the spots are subscribed, but we still are able to accept applications.
Sure.
So let me tell you a little bit about the application
Tell
process,
us,
because
tell
that's
the
what the
public.
parents all want to
That's
know.
what they wanna know.
They can go online and apply. It's right on the website, which is www.pressmancharterschools.com.
Okay.
Or they can obtain a hard copy of the application right at the school
Which is?
at the 232 East Front Street, I'm sorry, at the YWCA in Plainfield. Okay, so they can obtain the application form there. That's part A. Part B is the so-called registration form, which provides us with a little bit of additional information, such as the school that the child currently attends.
Okay.
Okay, those are the two documents that are needed for admission. Once the child is admitted, then there are some additional information the parent needs to submit, such as birth certificate, proof of residency, a transfer card from their existing school, immunization records, things like that. So that's the basic process.
Now, in a case like this with this school, and you know, you're going to have parents that's probably frustrated with what we call the mainstream public school,
Right.
if I'm wording that right. Maybe the kid had a behavior problem or whatever,
Right.
and she feel that maybe
A change is
right
gonna
now. we all
change is gonna come.
we all have the hope sign up.
Right, that's right.
I remember when Reverend Jesse Jackson used to say, "Keep hope alive." Years ago, people laughed, but today, when we see all that's going on, we embody.
Yeah, maybe he had a point.
At a good point.
Yes.
So, if they look at your school for hope,
Right.
and sometimes the larger schools that come with so much commercialization and things, how could your school deal with a troubled child?
Okay, you bring up a good point. One other area, the third leg of the stool that we're talking about here in the academics and in the music is character education. We're character education.
Okay.
In other words, we're going to focus on remember we're talking about middle school kids.
Sure.
They're in a very formative type of stage. And we're going to really focus on character ed. And the main thing that we're going to infuse into the students and to the faculty and to everybody who comes in touch with the kids is respect.
Okay.
You know,
the importance of it, respect.
Importance of respect.
Right.
We're talking about respect for others, for their fellow students, for the classmates, for the adults in the school, for the environment, for the school, for learning, and most importantly, for themselves.
Okay.
So we know that every school has a whole list of rules, and they talk about zero tolerance and all that. We're talking about working with the youngsters to help them to learn respect. Okay, we're not looking out to punish kids. We're not looking out to be disrespectful for kids. We have one teacher, as Ms. McNeil talked about, one teacher per student for 20 students. But we have other personnel. And every teacher there is going to be responsible. We're going to take all the kids, approximately, well, there will be 160 students, divide by all the adults in the school, and let's say it comes out to 6 or 7.
Okay.
Every teacher, every administrator will have 6 or 7 kids who they serve as a mentor.
Okay.
And they're going to be very closely in touch with those 7 kids. They're going to know the kids, they're going to know their parents, they're going to know what goes on. So when a kid has a bad day, we all have bad days.
Right,
You know, I'm here to tell you that.
That's
we
the
all
truth.
have bad
That's
days. And when a youngster has a bad day, we're not looking to suspend the kid. We're not looking to kick him out. We're not looking to make him detention and all that type of thing. We're looking to find out why the youngster had a bad day and work with him to help change his behavior so that it's acceptable to the society and to his fellow classmates and to the faculty.
Okay.
So we're there to work with kids, and we're there to help with the character education. During lunch programs, we'll have the kids divide into different groups, and they may have a subject that they want to study, or they may want to talk about a certain issue that's going on
During
in
lunch.
society during lunch,
Okay,
right?
yes.
You know, rather than just have a whole group
right,
of
right.
kids sitting there,
Yes, yes,
doing
yes.
what kids do in a cafeteria. We're going to have a faculty or a mentor help guide them
So
through
while
life.
they're eating, they have discussions.
Exactly.
I tell you, I have to say this right here. I cheerio to you guys because, my parents was much older than me.
Right.
Father was 45 years older than me. My mother was 42 years older than me.
Sure.
I'm not adopted, you know what
You're
I mean?
right.
So
Yes.
they just was older than me.
Right.
And I learned a great deal from being at the kitchen table with them and
Right.
discussing so many things, you know what I mean? So I remember when I was boxing and we was at Atlantic City years ago, and we were at Tropicana Hotel. So as we were sitting around eating, before the fight, I think ate around 12 o'clock that afternoon at the weigh-in, and we were sitting around, and I was actually having a discussion. So the trainer was so amazed at the fact that, say, this guy we've been here 2 hours and you've been discussing things
Right.
while you eat,
Right.
and it just was a habit that was passed down. So
That's right.
I salute that right
Yeah,
there.
you had to have. I mean, I grew up in an older family, and I have children who came along later in life, and you sat at the dinner table and you had an intelligent conversation.
Exactly.
And that's what your parents expected of you.
Exactly.
If
Yes.
you, they expected you to participate, and they expected you to know something about what
Sure,
was going on in the
sure.
world. They expected that you were going to watch the
Right.
evening news or read the newspaper. There was just a different level of expectation.
Sure.
And they didn't expect to necessarily talk about what interested you.
Right. That's the truth. That's the
So
truth.
you had to be well versed in a lot of different subjects.
Without a doubt, yes.
And that's an advantage to
It
children.
is an advantage.
I think that the two of you hit on something here. Your parents expected more of you.
Sure.
Right.
All right, and that's what we are doing with our youngsters in the middle school. We expect them to be successful. We
You're not
expect them-
demonizing them.
Exactly.
Because let me say
right.
this right here, and I won't call the school out. I was at this school here in Plainfield.
Mm-hmm.
And when the head of the school was talking about the kids, I felt I was moved by it. I was upset by it. It was like they were being demonized. They talked about some of these kids come from crack infested families, come to this, that, and other. So I said, this is not fair. I
Right.
said, because when that guy's running that football in the NFL and he's running for that touchdown, they don't holler at Mike, Larry Bird is, whatever. His mother was a crack addict, his father was a drug addict,
That's right.
but look at him run. And I said, I think that was like, if you're trying to get attention or you're trying to get support that way, I think that was
That's not the way to go about it.
Like my mother would say, a dirty underskirt.
Right.
To the sister. You know what I mean?
A left-handed compliment.
Yeah. That was kind of low.
Yeah, and that really is it really is unfair to the children.
Sure.
Because,
It's like demonizing.
That's right, and also
Yeah.
it gives the children the freedom. Well, if the principal said it, then it must be okay if I say it to you in another context.
Sure.
We
And
live up to
and
our
that's not okay.
expectations
Sure,
very
sure,
often.
sure.
When you're a boxer, you didn't talk about losing.
No.
You talked about winning.
Winning.
And the same thing is true with our kids.
Right.
They come here. You mentioned before the parents who would come to a charter school. They come here because they want something for their child.
Sure.
I've been involved in a lot of urban areas helping start charter schools and working with folks. And, I have some difficulty sometimes because as soon as you talk about the low scores in an urban area, people start talking about the things that this principal is talking about.
Sure.
And I've seen hundreds of parents now. And when they come to look at a charter school, they have the same look in their eye as a parent anywhere in the state of New
Okay,
Jersey.
all right.
They want success for their kids.
They want success,
They
yes.
want the kids to be happy. They want kids to be able to achieve. And what they're looking for is an opportunity to do that with people who believe in the kids. And believe in their parents.
Exactly.
And that's what
exactly.
we're going to do at the charter school. We're going to do that. I was sitting, listening to a family enroll their youngster, and I'll tell you that 7th grader was so bright and so inquisitive and wanted so much to learn that I was ready to adopt him. He wasn't up for adoption. But I said, boy, and he had a younger sibling with him, and she she was in 2nd grade. I
Right,
think.
sure,
And the
sure.
same thing. They just love learning. They were going through. We have some books in the classroom
right.
there, and they're going through the books and reading it. And she was demonstrating her
Yeah.
mathematics. And what we want to do is be able to get those youngsters through grades 6, 7, and 8,
Sure.
so that they maintain that enthusiasm and go on, into the secondary schools.
Wow, that's good. Give your website and stuff again and information. We got about 4 minutes left.
We want to make sure that we get it correctly here. It's www.pressmancharterschools with the S on the end.com.
Or you can come right down to the YWCA, which is
at 232 East Front Street in Plainfield.
And I want to give a lot of compliments to Kathleen Ludlow, who's the executive director of the YWCA and the YWCA, because what this permits us to do is run programs together. And the YWCA's mission is very similar to ours, and it just gives us a great opportunity for facilities.
And let me say this right here, cheerio to the YWCA. They have so many things going on down there. I think they're going to play coming up the Wiz
Yes.
soon. And I saw, a few weeks ago.
Well, they had a Raisin in the Sun.
Raisin in the
and
Sun.
They have another place
Yeah,
in the summer
yeah.
too. Yes.
Wow, they have so much
They
going
had,
on.
they had
down
Annie
there.
Jr. last winter.
Mm-hmm. Now you guys are building a kitchen down there, or is there a kitchen already there for the
There's
kids?
a kitchen already there, cafeterias.
Yeah, because you march me
Yes.
through the kitchen and everything.
Yeah.
And new classrooms and things of that nature.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, when do you guys expect your computers to arrive?
We're talking to people tomorrow to set up the networking program, and that we have 2 groups coming in to give us proposals on how to do it. So it'll be ready for opening day of school.
So it should be 20 computers in.
Well, we're going to work toward that.
Okay.
We got it. We're looking at to maximize the amount of money we have to reach as many youngsters as we can.
Sure.
And my hope is that we reach the point where youngsters who don't have computers at home, and there's not that many anymore,
Sure, right.
but that they be able to take a laptop home overnight if they needed it for their program. and that type of thing. The main thing is to make sure that youngsters can use the computers.
Well, that's wonderful. And you guys will teach those that don't know.
Yes, how to use it.
how to
Although
use it.
these days they'll be teaching us.
Right, exactly.
They're always a couple
That's a
steps
good
ahead of
point.
the adults.
Yeah, that's a good point. I take because they can really run through that keyboard.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but more so the parents. I mean, I talk to a lot of the parents, and many of the parents actually need the help, and we'll be showing them too.
Okay.
And another point you talked about going to